And you're welcome to our first big story this morning for Breakfast Extra. Now, in a recent development, the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) has issued a stern warning threatening to embark on a nationwide strike if the police detain their president, Ajaero, over allegations of terrorism financing. Now, this bold stance by the NLC comes after Ajaero was invited by the police for questioning, sparking concerns about the potential repercussions of this action on the already tense labor landscape in Nigeria.
Now, as the situation unfolds, the NLC's threat raises critical questions about the implications for the country's workforce and the economy at large. Now, with the possibility of a nationwide strike looming, the stakes couldn't be, higher for all parties involved. And so to shed more light on these issues, we have with us today Ajaero Oguntuase. He is a seasoned labor expert, and he will help us unpack the complexities of the police invitation, the NLC's response, and the potential fallout from a nationwide strike. Now, before we get into the conversation, I must put out here that we extended invitations for an interview to both state level and national level representatives on the NLC, and both cancelled, especially the one for the state level cancelled last minute. So just want to put this out there that they also do have a right of reply. But let me get started with you. I want to say, Ireoluwa, thank you so much for doing this with us last minute. And to start with this two representative turning down last minute, it begs to ask the question about, them and the press and the relationship with the federal government. Why do you think that they would, want to come on media and press to talk about, this situation, which, seems very tense?
Well, good morning, everybody, and good morning, Nigerians. Let me say, as a matter of first instance, that as a lawyer, I'm not holding brief for Nigerian Labour Congress, neither am I holding brief for the Nigerian Police Force. But be that as it may, let me start by saying that there is Section 39 of the 1999 Constitution that guarantees freedom of expression. So that means I may choose to express myself, and I may also choose not to express myself. So that to say that I'm not trying to look into their minds now, or that to say that they also have the right to say that, okay, they want to come or they don't want to come. But again, I believe in sensitive matters of this, it is only, with all due respect to them, responsible, to come and share their views, particularly considering the fact that Nigerian Labour Congress is a general union, and any activities that affect the Nigerian Labour Congress affect seemingly, Nigerian workers or employees as a whole, because they represent the interest of the employees in Nigeria, as it were. So I think it should have been on that premise that they should have come to also shed more light on what is happening, the current state of event, particularly given the fact that the citizens would also want to know. And the media is not the Nigerian police. The opportunity through which they can generally and mass reach out to the people is through the media. So it's also an opportunity to also state their side of the story. So I think they should have come, but at the same time, they have the right to freedom of expression to an extent that they have the right to express themselves, or they have the right not to express themselves. But I think probably if invitation is extended to them again, I wouldn't want to jump into conclusion or mathematical conjectures. So if an invitation is extended to them again, I think they'll be able to make it. So possibly, probably their schedule is very tight, to make it now.
Well, I'm stifling a laugh there because you're saying that their schedule is tight. But it was a bit too coordinated. It was very last minute. It was like I said, both parties were like informed not to, is why we were very concerned.
It seemed to be a gag.
Yeah, like exactly is the word.
Gag.
And I'm wondering, what could it be? Why can't we get that freedom of expression, especially from the NLC, whom we believe represent, well, the great population of Nigeria? What could it be, is the question, Ajaero.
Well, like I said, it's a very sensitive issue for them. It's a very sensitive issue. So they may think that for now, they don't want to express themselves. There are some issues that happen and you just think that, okay, let's just hold on for now. Because currently the police, they are inviting the president, the NLC president, and he has yet to honor the invitation. We don't know what is going, we don't know what is going in the secret or on the line implications of this or the reasons, they may have expressed. So for me, I wouldn't want to jump into unnecessary speculation. Okay. You think it's coordinated. Well, with the way they spawned the invitation, to come to TV Central at the last minute, it may seem coordinated to you, but I also think that they would have their reasons. Their reasons may be internal, in which they may not want to disclose now. But I think that if an invitation is extended to them again, as a response to responsible organizations that owe an obligation, to the members of the public, particularly to the Nigerian workers, and given the sensitivity of this matter, because they cannot go on strike. And we now say that it's not going to affect, the general populace or the Nigerians. The last time they went on strike and the economy was shut down, everybody felt it. So I think to this extent, I think they have a responsibility to Nigerians to explain their side of the story. I think they owe Nigerians an obligations to explain their side of the story and also to defend themselves, to that extent. But again, I wouldn't want to quickly jump into conclusion and start making indirect references as to the reasons, whether negative or positive, why they are not able to honor the invitation. I just want to believe that all is well with them. And I also want to believe that subsequently they will come and explain. And in fact, an organization like NLC should develop a good relationship with the media, because they need the media in explaining their objective, their plans, especially for the Nigerian populace. And also in matters like this, they also need the media to explain their side of the story. But that being said, I wouldn't want to address the reasons, they are not here today.
I have to ask about, let's talk about basically the invitation to the NLC president, Duoye, and of course a threat to strike, or should an action strike, should the president, Duoye, be detained. Let's hear your thoughts on just the turn of events so far.
Okay, so we need to take it from 7th of August, 2024. The police stormed the office of the NLC, and their claim is that they're trying to search for some document that relates to part of the things that they're investigating, part of the issues that they're investigating. And I think probably I watch it on, I think, Channels Are Right, where they interview the police PPRO, Mr. Muyiwa, and as much as possible, he tried to explain what the police, was trying to achieve. But again, he also said that he will not be able to delve into the nitty-gritty of the matter. Now, that snowballed to this invitation of the NLC president. Now, let me say, as a preliminary point, that as far as the invitation is concerned, anybody can be invited by the police. The issue that we're having here is the issue of trust. We've seen the issue of trust and the issue of strict compliance with rule of law, especially I'm talking about the police over time. We've seen instances whereby police had invited people on frivolous allegation of frivolous charges. And we've also seen instances whereby invitation by the police seems to be like a personal vendetta. I'm not jumping into conclusion that is a personal vendetta in this case. But all these things will now give a cause for concern as to ask ourselves whether that is not the same situation in this case. And again, let me also quickly say this. I was very careful enough to watch when there is a projection, just like I think 3 minutes ago on the invitation on TV Central, there's a projection of the police invitation. And I saw that in paragraph 3 of the police invitation, I think paragraph 3, if I'm not mistaken, it says that if Ajaero does not or fail to honor the invitation, a warrant of arrest, will be obtained against him, something like that. I don't think that is necessary, because invitation is simplicity and invitation. Judith, I can invite you to come to my house, and you have a right to refuse to come to my house. So if I believe that your invitation is not necessary, or if I believe that by reason of me inviting you and you refuse, I can get another person to invite, I'll get another person to invite. And the issue of obtaining warrant of arrest, is at the exclusive reserve of the police. They have the right to obtain the warrant of arrest, but by they including it in the letter of invitation, it suggests animosity, it suggests hostility. And all these things can also eat up the policy in this case. So we also need to understand that, for sure. Now, I've also read in the news, I don't know whether it's true, but I've also read that the lawyer to the Nigerian Labour Congress, Mr. Femi Falana SAN, a very respectable lawyer, someone I respect so much as a senior member of the bar, I've heard that they're also trying to see whether they can get an injunction. I wouldn't want to conclude that this is true, but if this is also true, I think with all due respect, I think it may not be necessary to get an injunction now. I don't know, I'm not the lawyer to NLC, so I cannot prosecute or advise them on how to conduct their case. But I think if a police extends an invitation, to someone, an invitation is simplicity an invitation, and you just need to honor it. Now, the issue of fair hearing that is being raised pursuant to Section 36 now depends on how the police conduct its case during an invitation. And I'll give you a clear example. So let's say the police invite someone like me now, and I go to the police station. I expect them to do some things. Now, they wouldn't have invited me if there is no petition or against me, if there is no allegation against me. So I expect them to show me the petition, show me the allegation against me, let me read it, and I will respond to it adequately. So if they have any other questions they want to ask me, they will ask me. And that doesn't mean at that instance that I've committed the offense. Investigation may still continue, and I'll be released on bail. And anytime they need me, I'll make myself available.
Okay, Ajaero.
I think, but yes.
So my apologies for cutting in there, but we also still wanted to get more in on this conversation. Now, talking about the fragile state of Nigeria as it is right now, if the NLC was to go with its threat and actually go on strike, as a labor expert, what implications do you think that has on the current state of things and on Nigerians and the relationship between the NLC and the police?
It's going to have a far-reaching implication. I will not lie to you. And for me personally, I don't support strike. And the reason they even want to go on that strike is a very lame reason. For me, I believe it's very preposterous. Why would they go on strike on that premise? Let the NLC president honor the invitation. Now, the relationship this would also further cause a strain, between the labor and the Nigerian police on one hand. And this would also further cause a strain between the Nigerian labor, NLC, and even the general populace on the other hand. Now, we should not forget the fact that we just finished a protest right now, the end bad governance protest. What happened? NLC did not join in the protest. Notwithstanding the fact that the protest concerns or relates to the general citizens, they did not join. So the people will now be thinking that if you fail to join in the protest that relates to the general citizen and you seem to be representing, the mass interest of the general citizens or the Nigerian workers, as it were, will it now not be selfish for something to happen to one of your officials and you now want to proceed on strike? To a very great extent, I think that may be an abuse of power, particularly considering the provisions of the Trade Disputes Act that says that if that you can, yes.
I hate to cut you, but I have to ask, do you think does that mean that this call for, this threat of a nationwide strike is a knee-jerk reaction to what is just, as you said, an invitation?
Of course, it's very obvious. Yes, it's a knee-jerk reaction. They are not trying to hide it. They came out openly to say that if they arrest the NLC president, then they are going to shut down the economy. They are going to go on strike. And that is why I've said that this is not the best way to handle this. If anything happens to NLC official, the solution is not to go on strike. We still remember the Imo case. I spoke about it. When the NLC president, when there is an allegation that the NLC president was assaulted in Imo, and this same thing happened, there was also a threat that they are going to go on strike. So I think it is not the best way to handle it, in as much as a union, they have the power to go on strike under the Trade Dispute Act, but there are also some conditions that must happen or that may seem to have happened before they can go on strike. Strike is even regulated by law. So they cannot just take laws into their hands and say that any small thing that happens to any of the official, as it were, they're going to go on strike. Then what is the position of the Trade Disputes Act that regulates people going on strike? What is the position of the Trade Disputes Act and the Trade Union Act that even regulates the Nigerian Labour Congress, as it were? So would it be that, or is it that they are complying with the provisions of the Trade Dispute Act and Trade Union Act, particularly when the trade dispute in its sense has been defined as dispute between employers and workers, or workers and workers, relating to employment, non-employment, terms and condition of employment and physical condition of work of any person. So this issue that is happening, upon which they are saying they want to go on strike, does it relate to employment? Does it relate to terms and condition of employment of any person? So those are the things we really need to put into consideration. I think NLC needs to put into consideration, and they would also not want Nigeria to see them as a selfish body that is only concerned about itself, but not about the Nigerian populace.
That sounds very true.
What is the option of them going to the Nigerian court, to ventilate their grievance? NLC, as a trade union, one of the implications is that they can sue and be sued. So they can decide to go to the Nigerian court under the auspices of NLC, or they can also decide to go. Ajaero himself, the NLC president himself, can also decide to ventilate his grievance by enforcing his fundamental human right personally, without prejudice to the fact that he is the president of Nigerian Labour Congress.
Ajaero, would like to say thank you very much. You've spoken so well on this, and your insight is very valuable on this segment. Thank you very much, Ajaero Oguntuase, a legal and labor expert, joining us here this morning. Thank you again.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Do have a productive day. Thank you.
Thank you once more. We'll switch gears now. When we come back after the break, we bring you a big report, the political tussle between Nyesom Wike and PDP. Stay right here. And we turn our focus to the ongoing political saga involving the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, and his party, the People's Democratic Party. Wike, who recently marked his first year in office as FCT Minister, has made it clear that despite the internal crisis in the PDP, he has no intention of leaving the party. His strong words at a recent media parley in Abuja, where he vowed to stay and fight rather than run from what he termed vampires, have sparked a fresh wave of political speculation.
Indeed, and joining us today to discuss the implications of Wike's defiant stance are our News Central Bureau Chief, Amadin Oui from Abuja, who will be joining us later. But right now, we also have joining us right now, Mr. Kola Uzodinma, the former National Publicity Secretary for the PDP. I want to thank you, sir, for joining us this early.
Good morning, Nigerians.
Good morning, sir. Now, sir, if you'll give us just a minute, we would like to run our package by our Abuja correspondent just after at the media parley with Nyesom Wike, and we'll be back to ask you very interesting, critical questions about it. Do stay and watch.
The media chat was an opportunity by the FCT minister of bearing his opinion on national issues, matters related to the crisis in the People's Democratic Party, and his impasse with the governor of Rivers State. He cleared the air on infrastructural development in satellite communities in the federal capital.
In all the rural areas today, which has not been the case, you can't find roads. And how do you talk about agriculture when there's no road? How do you convey the produce? How? So we make sure that, look, if we're really talking about agriculture, there must also be road infrastructure. That's why if you go to the 6 area councils, go and see the openings. Go and see the openings.
He also described the events in his native Rivers State as impunity by the governor, accusing him of willfully disregarding several court orders, calling him to stop his actions.
That you want to take control of a state. It's natural in politics. Is that why you should allow impunity? A court pronouncing that you did not bring budget. Whatever budget you said you have, it's not on the void. And you say we should fold our hands and then watch. Nobody should say anything. I have no problem. Let court make a pronouncement.
He then dismissed questions asking him of his intention to quit the People's Democratic Party, saying he will see the end of the crisis.
I have told you that I don't want to wait for any fight. I will stay there. I will fight it out.
In the PDP?
Yes. Who am I going to run for? The vampires? How can you say that? Anybody who knows me knows too well. If I want to join APC today, why would I? When I was there in PDP, didn't I say that, look, I will not support the presidential candidate? Did I do it secretly? All those people who are saying those things, did they bring one member that won election? I'm a PDP member.
Right.
The law must be followed before we break. But if you think that you can go and sit down somewhere and say you will do this, you cause crisis for yourself.
All right.
The minister says that the FCT is investing in agriculture and has concluded plans to go into large-scale cultivation of farmlands to boost food security. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Oui.
And a report there was from Amadin Oui, who was live at the media palio briefing with pressmen marking 1 year in office for the FCT Minister for Nyesom Wike. Let me turn to you, sir. Thank you so much for being patient and just sticking with us. I must ask about the statements that he made. He referred to the PDP as vampires and said that he would not run, he would stay and fight. Those statements that he made and the word he used to describe the PDP, shouldn't the PDP have political will or power to be able to face Wike square on and be able to take him on what is being referred to as a combative statement?
Thank you very much, Julie. The recourse to strong word against the party, it is a function of the leadership of the party, the National Working Committee, under the chairmanship of under the leadership of the acting chairman, Ambassador Ilyasu Damagum, to correct the impression of saying that, oh, there are vampires in the People's Democratic Party. I leave that to the leadership of the PDP to take a decision on. But I don't know those whom the Honorable Minister of FCT and the Governor of former Governor of Rivers State, Chief Nyesom Wike, referred to as vampires. And I don't think that he will have said that he wants to remain in the party if truly the party are made of vampires. However, I think that the leadership of the party, under the acting chairman, Ambassador Damagum, should be able to attend to that.
And so I have to ask again, given his actions from the last elections and now being appointed a minister of the FCT, and he's shown loyalty in what has been described as very, very, should I say, disloyal to the opposition party, and still being a member of the PDP opposition, but thrown full support behind this current administration. I have to ask again, does the PDP have political will to be able to stand firm and, be able to sanction Wike, whether remove him as a member of the PDP, whether to disown him entirely or dismember him? Does the PDP have political will to do that?
Well, when we talk about politics, one thing that we need to get clear and that we need to understand about the People's Democratic Party is that no matter how strongly you feel as an individual, even no matter how strongly you feel as a group, issues have their processes in line with the constitution of the People's Democratic Party. And in this situation that you have narrated, it is left for the leadership of the party, as I said earlier, under the chairmanship under the leadership of the acting chairman, Ambassador Damagum, to take effect or to begin a process that can address the issue. Where, maybe in the course of the week, the Damagum leadership came up with a membership and inaugurated the Reconciliation Committee as well as the Disciplinary Committee. For the Reconciliation Committee and the Disciplinary Committee, these are two separate bodies. those who feel strongly about all the issues we have raised concerning Emmanuel Wike, the Minister of FCT and former Governor of Breakfast State, now have the opportunity to go and express their misgivings via petitions to the disciplinary committee chaired by Chief Tom Ikime.
All right, Mr. Ologbodiyan, first of all, I want to invite and also tell that we have our correspondent from Abuja, Amadin Oui, joining us. Amadin, good morning and welcome. We'll be coming to you in a minute, Amadin. Thank you very much. But to you, Mr. Ologbodiyan, now, given Article 109 of the Nigerian Constitution, which mandates that a member of the House should vacate their seat if they become a member of another legislative house, now how does the PDP reconcile that to what's happening right now, noting that the FCT minister, while still backing the party, especially in Rivers State, is throwing his support behind the APC as the ruling party in Nigeria? Doesn't this give a sense of, well, what you call it now, indiscipline within the PDP as they continue to look at this going on and have no sanctions for the FCT minister?
Well, thank you very much for this issue. The position of the People's Democratic Party, to the best of my understanding, has not changed, which is that those who have vacated their seats in the Rivers State House of Assembly, those who have changed membership from the PDP to the APC in the Rivers State House of Assembly have vacated their seats. And I think that is a general opinion, and that is a public stance of the People's Democratic Party. But as you know, PDP is a very democratic party in nature, where majority will have their way and the minority will always have their say. So what's happening in Rivers State, in respect to your question about Minister Nyesom Wike, is clearly a situation in which the party has taken its own position. But the party will not stop anybody from expressing their views and opinions.
But this goes beyond the party. This goes beyond views and opinion of individuals. This actually goes to tell exactly what the party is formed like, what they will take, what they won't take. Many quarters, many Nigerians have also told that perhaps maybe the PDP is also enjoying certain kinds of privileges with the FCT minister being of that party, but yet working under the APC. So are there advantages to the PDP having Nyesom Wike as their party member, but working under the APC? What are these advantages that they enjoy?
You playing for two teams?
Playing for two teams, exactly.
I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know if there are advantages that the party enjoys. And I say this in every sense of responsibility and modesty. I don't know if there are.
Oh, we seem to have a bit of a glitch there. But we also have Amadin Oui, who was present at the press parley with the FCT minister. Amadin, good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, Amadin. You were there at the parley and you saw everything live. I must ask about, at the end of it, you said he didn't answer any questions. So I want you to clarify on that, the mood that was there during the parley, and, did he answer any questions, or it was a no questions and just him divulging what he felt has been a one-year tumultuous ride for him as FCT minister?
It would be unfair to say that the minister did not answer any questions, because there were 6 people trying to ask him questions, and he tried within his capability to answer all that were asked. He talked about various issues. He started with his one-year tenure in the FCT, focusing on 4 key areas: security, agriculture, infrastructure, and also development within youth empowerment within the FCT, efforts being made by his administration to increase sort of youth participation or youth inclusion in governance. From there, he went to events happening within Rivers State, and why he felt that as the leader of a faction, he had to speak and he had to make his voice heard. Then finally, questions were asked about his ordeal in the People's Democratic Party and whether he was mulling the idea of decamping from the People's Democratic Party, for which he stated emphatically that he was going nowhere. So he answered all the questions. In fact, the problem we had was that there was not enough time because everybody had so much to ask the minister, especially as it had to do with politics and the Rivers State crisis.
Amadin, I have to ask, when he made statements like, I would not run, I would stay and fight, and referred to members of the PDP as vampires, what was the atmosphere like in the room, and how did the other pressmen, gentlemen and women of the press, took it?
It was sort of surprising because before we got to the media parley, everybody had believed that he was on his way out of the People's Democratic Party. Reports on social media, looking at past events within Rivers State. Remember that just 24 hours, the PDP Board of Trustees had visited the Rivers State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, sort of a reconciliation and to throw their support behind him. It was led by former PDP chairman Adolphus Wagbara. And then so what happened was that everybody thought that the minister was being put in his place, because remember that there had been this crisis rocking the People's Democratic Party, and the party had not, the party was not, or rather is not, in support of his romance with the APC-led administration. So it was widely believed that he was on his way out of the party. So when the question was thrown at him, and he said no, 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 he was going to fight whatever was happening in the party, that he has stated emphatically that he was not decamping from the People's Democratic Party. So it came as a shocker to many of us, but it opened several other, it heralded rather several other questions that we wanted to ask him, especially as it had to do with the running of the affairs of the People's Democratic Party and resolution of the current crisis affecting the People's Democratic Party.
Amadin, thank you very much. So I'm going to go back to Mr. Olubodiyan. Sir, now, regarding the reference to vampires in the PDP that the FCT minister made, the question now is the PDP not ashamed of the fact that, first off, Autumn was sanctioned by the PDP, so was the ex-governor of Edo State, or the governor, deputy governor of Edo State was also sanctioned. But Nyesom Wike has remained in that position without any sanction from the PDP. The big question Nigerians are asking is, why is the PDP scared of Nyesom Wike?
Is the PDP scared of
exactly.
Nyesom Wike?
Are they scared of Nyesom Wike? Mr. Olubodiyan. Oh, we have a big problem with the connection with him, unfortunately. But, Mr. Amadin, if you're still with us. Yes, now, Amadin, I'm going to come to you while we wait to establish or re-establish connection with our guest here. Regarding the media parley, many people think that the press was soft on Wike. Would like to also know, or hang on a second, Amadin, I believe that we have Mr. Olubodiyan back with us now. Mr. Olubodiyan, I'm hoping that you heard the question I asked from before. Did you?
I had the question, and
please go ahead with the response. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. What I said earlier on was that it borders on the leadership of the party.
First, to bring you Breakfast Xtra headlines right here this morning for you, and we begin with security matters, where we understand that the Benue State Police Command has announced the release of 20 medical and dental students from the University of Maiduguri and the University of Jos who were abducted in the Otukpo area on August 16th. According to Catherine Anene, the police spokesperson, the students were rescued on Friday night. While the details of the operation will be disclosed later, it was confirmed that no ransom was paid. The students were en route to the annual convention of the Federation of Catholic Medical and Dental Students in Enugu when the incident occurred. Muyiwa Adejobi, the force police relations officer, stated that the students were safely rescued from Ntukan forest on August 23rd. He emphasized that the rescue was carried out tactically by security agencies with the help of local communities and the Office of the National Security Advisor. Let's also tell you that the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Mr. Ola Olukayode, has emphasized that Nigerians are inherently good people, but the nation's system fosters an environment where fraud can thrive. He highlighted the importance of transparency and accountability among public office holders to combat corruption and restore integrity in the country's institution. Olukayode made these remarks during a courtesy visit by the management team of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, led by its managing director, Mr. Samuel Obuku, to the EFCC headquarters in Abuja. He expressed his appreciation for the NCDC's Rewind to Rebirth initiative, which aims to transform the commission. Olu Kayode praised Mr. Obuku's commitment to change, stating that the NCDC could become a symbol of pride, accountability, and transparency. He underscored that such values are essential to building a system of integrity in Nigeria. And now to politics. The People's Democratic Party Governors Forum has held its monthly meeting in Jalingo, Taraba State to discuss strategies for addressing the nation's economic challenges and issues affecting the party. The meeting, which comes barely a month after a similar meeting in Enugu, addressed critical issues affecting both the country and the party, with a particular focus on the ongoing political crisis within the Rivers State chapter. At the end of the meeting, chairman of the forum and governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, who disclosed the resolutions to newsmen, expressed concern about the nation's economic woes, emphasizing that PDP governors are proactive in addressing the needs of the people in their respective states. Speaking on the ongoing political crisis in Rivers State, he said the party is leaving no stone unturned in its efforts to restore peace and unity in the state.
You read their plight. Number 5, the forum knows the political impasse in Rivers State, where court judgments are employed to determine the outcome of party congresses. The PDP Governors Forum restates its stand and firm support to the governor of Rivers State and will engage the NWC of the Great Party to revisit the Congress with a view to correcting the anomaly and allowing His Excellency Governor Similaye Hubra to take his rightful leadership position of the party in the state. Number 6, with regard to the forthcoming governorship election in Edo State, we condemn the pronouncement.
And now to judicial matters. The governors of Bayelsa and Kogi states have been affirmed as duly elected governors of their states by Nigeria's Supreme Court. Now, this was as the Apex Court delivered its ruling on the legal tussle bordering on the outcome of the 2023 off-cycle governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo, and Kogi states. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
Supporters of the Kogi State Governor, Usman Ododo, celebrating his victory at the nation's Apex Court. In a unanimous judgment, the Supreme Court panel of justices says that the allegation of substantially not complying with the Electoral Act was not proven by the Social Democratic Party's governorship candidate, Murtala Ajaka.
So we want to say to God be the glory. At least the bed has been finally laid to rest. And with this judgment now, I believe it's all over. So that the governor can concentrate, on his policies and the plan he has for the people of Kogi State. And I believe with this, all distractions are all over. and we pray that God will grant him good head to pilot the affairs of Kogi State, and then so that Kogi people can benefit from this good governance which he has in stock for them.
In the case of Bayelsa, the lead judgment delivered by Justice Garba Lawal held that the appeal by Temipre Silva and the APC was not only lacking merit, but a gross abuse of court processes.
Well, we are very happy that today again, Governor Diri has won. You will recall that this has been a series of victories affirming his victory at the election. At the election tribunal, we won. At the Court of Appeal, we won. And today, too, at the Supreme Court, the final court, the highest court of the land, we have also won, affirming his victory at the polls.
And you can hear from the court that our preliminary objection to the fact that the appeal number 15 at the Court of Appeal was an abuse of court process. And so the appeal here is also dismissed, just like the Court of Appeal dismissed it because it was an abuse of court process, because the Constitution only entitled you to file one appeal, and so you cannot file two appeals.
The judgment brings an end to a year-long legal tussle by participants in the elections and makes a way for governance to begin in earnest. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
In the same vein, the Supreme Court has also dismissed the appeal filed by the People's Democratic Party and its governorship candidates Samuel Anyanwu in Imo State governorship election. The PDP had challenged the decision of the Court of Appeal, which affirmed the election of Hope Uzodinma as the governor of the state. However, in delivering its final judgment, the Apex Court held that the appeal lacked merit and affirmed the decision of the Court of Appeal.
To the judgment is that the Supreme Court delivered the judgment and held that the appeal lacks merit and is dismissed.
27 local governments were won in a manner that the elections have not been won in Imo State before, because of the effort the governor put into administration, where Imolites are happy with what he did, and they turned out en masse to vote for him. A lot of people did not understand the volume of what Imo people did in that election. But he spoke for us, he spoke for Imo, he spoke for the governor. He showed that a man who came into governance, and a lot of people were skeptics, were talking a lot of things. At the end of the day, the Imo people came out and gave him that mandate that was a landslide mandate, overwhelming victory.
And that's all for Breakfast Headlines right here for this hour. We'll bring you more at the top of the hour for 10 a.m. I'm Judith at TB. We switch gears back now to our Breakfast Extra special, which is, of course, or rather the big report from earlier inside the 8 o'clock hour with our conversation on the PDP tussle, as the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, has said he will stay and fight and will not run away from the vampires, referring to members of the PDP. We were having a conversation earlier with our chief of Abuja Bureau for News Central TV, and that's Amadin Oui, who was live at the media briefing with Nyesom Wike, plus other members of the press. And we also have with us Mr. Kola Ologbodiyan. He is the former National Secretary for the PDP. Well, sir, let me start with you. The question from earlier when Mazzino asked you, we had a bit of technical issue there, but if you can please start with that and answer. You were given your answer to that question from earlier.
Thank you very much, Julian. First and foremost, I wasn't a former, I'm not a former National Secretary. I am a former National Publicity Secretary.
National Publicity Secretary.
Yeah, former National. Having cleared that. Well, the question you raised was about whether the PDP is afraid of the Minister of FCT and former Governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. And I said that no matter how you feel as individuals, no matter as individual members of the party, and no matter how you feel, even as a bunch of the party, members of the party, the person who has been placed in charge, authority, to galvanize the party towards achieving whatever purpose is the acting national chairman. of the People's Democratic Party, Ambassador Uzodinma. So the issues that you have raised with me, he has the answers to the question. Whether the PDP is scared of Minister Nyesom Wike or not, he is to provide the leadership. But I also said that he has inaugurated the Reconciliation Committee as well as the Disciplinary Committee. And that no matter the misgivings that members have, no matter how strongly members feel about actions or inactions of Chief Nyesom Wike, the opportunity has come. They should take their petitions concerning their grievances to the Disciplinary Committee, chaired by Chief Tom.
Sir, I have to ask you, right? And this current dispensation, we have seen, the APC, and we've also seen Wike be very vocal about his support with the APC and said that his position as the minister of the FCT is a reward for his support to President Bola Tinubu in view of the elections for 2027. Does PDP still stand a chance of being a strong opposition against the ruling class, given Wike's stance and very vocal support of the APC-led government?
It is not only government, it's not only the Minister of FCT that have expressed such views. The former governor of Benue State,
but he's been expelled. He's been expelled from the party. Why hasn't Wike been expelled? If you're going to call members who have now been expelled, why hasn't Wike been expelled to show the stance of where they stand, sir?
Julie, if you follow the situation concerning the expulsion or non-expulsion of Chief Sam Otom, it's about the conflict in Benue State. It does not address the issue that you are speaking about. And for your information, I think yesterday or the day before, Chief Sam Otom still presided over a meeting in Benue PDP as the leader of the party. But what I am saying is this: I quite understand your disposition, but my position is clear. And my position is that no matter how one feels about situations like this, that it is of the minister of, it's still within the purview of the chairman, acting chairman of the PDP, Ambassador Uzodinma, to provide the required leadership. And that's the point I'm making.
Thank you very much. Let me come to our correspondent, Amadin. Now, Amadin, I was going to ask a question earlier regarding the ambience at the press parley with the members of the press. Now, most people seem to think that the press went easy on Wike. I'm wondering what question. Oh dear, I'm being told my sound is out.
Yeah, so I'm going to help you there. Imagine if you can hear me. We were saying that Mazino was asking about the public's view of the media parley. They said that the journalists went easy on Wike.
They were a bit. So I just wanted to know what questions you had posed and what his body language was to these questions that you posed to him was.
I don't think the press was easy on the FCT minister, because when you go for such interviews, you don't go to such interviews with an opinion. You go to such interviews to uncover truths and ask questions which are being asked by the populace. First of all, we asked the pressing questions that the FCT citizens wanted to know. We wanted to know what the Wike administration had done in terms of infrastructure, had done in terms of security, had done in terms of agriculture, whether the objective was to just provide support to farmers or to work towards a broader view of food security. We asked questions about education, if the FCT administration was also investing in basic education and equipping schools in rural communities. When we asked the questions about the crisis in Rivers State, we first wanted to know why the crisis exists from his own point of view in the first place. We asked questions bordering on whether there was any room for reconciliation between him and the current governor, Siminalayi Fubara. And we asked questions about what he thought about the governor's actions in the last few weeks concerning local government chairmen, the 27 decamped, allegedly decamped PDP lawmakers. Then when it came to the issue of the People's Democratic Party, we asked that big question of whether he was going to decamp and what he thought about the crisis in the PDP. So those are the questions Nigerians basically were yearning to hear, because except some people wanted us to go with go there with an opinion and infer that Wike was the villain. Remember that this crisis is between politicians of the same family. So for a lot of us, it was needless to take sides. We just needed to stay in between and ask those questions which Nigerians were yearning to hear. All right. Well, Amadin, I want to say thank you. Amadin Oui, thank you so much for bringing us this report, and also to Mr. Kola Ologbodiyan, who is the former National Publicity Secretary for PDP. Gentlemen, thank you so much for sticking with us and taking out the time to give us more perspective and insight in this conversation. We wait to see how this will continue to unfold, given this administration, and whether or not the PDP will do what is deemed right by the people of Nigeria. But once again, many thanks.
Nice way to put it, Judith. Thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And now we are going to be moving on to other stories and reports. Only if you stick around, let's take a short break and we'll be back with more, especially regarding the situation most Nigerians are going through, which is the scarcity in PMS. We'll be back.
Andrew, welcome back. Let's delve into a pressing issue that has gripped the nation: fuel scarcity. Across Nigeria, long queues have resurfaced at filling stations, with car owners enduring hours of wait time and the black market booming as prices soar past 1,000 naira per litre. Now, this latest wave of fuel scarcity has been attributed to a series of unfortunate events, including adverse weather conditions, situation in key channels, and disruptions in fuel discharge operations.
While Judith is asking a question saying that they resurfaced, I think they never went anywhere. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, NNPCL, has assured the public that they are doing everything possible to manage the situation, but the question remains, why does this keep happening, and what can be done to prevent it? So to help us unpack this, we have with us today Devo Okori, a social analyst, who will be providing insight into the underlying issues and potential solutions, if we can find any. And you're welcome to the show, Devo.
Stop being pessimistic,
Thank you so much.
Pessimism, you say?
Yes,
Oh, wow.
yes.
Wait till you hear this.
Our job as journalists is to bring hope and optimism to the people.
Obviously, you get fuel somewhere else.
No. How bad go? No, you lynch me. I don't have any fuel.
You must have a supplier.
Devo, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
I mean, we have to start with, the fuse. NNPCL has cited adverse weather conditions and situations as the primary causes of the current situation.
Distribution.
All of these reasons. What are your thoughts on this?
I think there's no reason that we haven't heard from the NNPC. As you know, fuel scarcity has become not just a perennial problem. Almost every quarter we go with one form of fuel scarcity or the other. And for the past 2 decades, you would wonder why we've not been able to resolve it once and for all, given the usual statistics that we know that we're among the top 10 oil-producing nations, which is a factor of upstream and downstream-wise, because our 4 refineries are not working. That's the reason that we are importing. And even now, I mean, I don't have to belabor the points. We have a 650,000 barrel per day producing refinery that just requires some supply of crude, whether it's going to come from Nigeria or it's going to come from abroad. So it's like we have the answers all around us, yet we're still not able to live in peace. And on top of the fact that, as they say, as the president said, let's use his words, OT law, it went and Otikpada, it came back. And it didn't just come back, it came back with force. We're paying times 2 or 3 the subsidy that we paid during the last regime. And on top of the increased price, I mean, if you go around, it's only NNPC that sells between 600 and 700. Sorry, they don't even do 700. They sell between 600, 650 between Lagos and Abuja. I've just come back from a national trip. Most members of the major marketers, as well as the independent marketers, there are about 25,000 stations nationwide. They sell between 850 and 1,000. And if they sell from 850 and 1,000, the black market is selling between 1,200, 1,500. And if it gets really bad, you know how much people have to pay.
I want to ask a comparison between fuel and diesel, but I'll save that for after you tell us or establish exactly this new, in quotes, subsidy that has come back with a vengeance. Is it considered subsidy like what we used to have from before, when Nigeria used to subsidize our subsidize the petrol that we consume? Is it the same thing? Can we establish that?
Yes, it is the same thing. I mean, they give it a different name each time.
Yes, one of the names, quasi subsidy.
Yes, quasi subsidy. At some point, they denied it. They said it wasn't existing, it wasn't in the budget.
Anywhere?
Then when you ask them, okay, if it doesn't exist in the budget, how are you paying for it? They now came up with direct sales, willing buyer, willing seller. Then they moved to under recovery, and now they refer to it as shortfall. It's basically the same thing. If I'm trying to buy a tube of yam in the market and it's 4,000, I only have 2,000 naira. If someone gives me the extra 2,000, that is a subsidy. If I want to sell, it's just like a discount. I mean, you can call it anything. Somebody pays the difference. Marketers have told us now it's no longer hidden that they land PMS, that's the normal fuel you buy at the pump, at 1,000, between 1,000 and 1,100, right? If it comes into the country, that's imported PMS at that price, how are you able to sell it at 600 naira? So it means the difference is the subsidy. Now, the difference you ask between diesel and PMS is because diesel is AGO. Diesel is fully deregulated 100%. There's no government interference in terms of the supply and the pricing. So that's why it's so expensive. Depending on the markets, anybody who wants to bring in diesel, you go and get a license and you bring in diesel. Now, in PMS, which is fuel, the government is still playing a role, meaning it's what the masses need. Therefore, in their own wisdom, we can't sell it at the market's price. Well, only someone who has extra cash can subsidize. Let me repeat myself. Only a country that has sufficient revenue can subsidize. And Nigeria is going through a revenue crisis, okay? Meaning we have so many needs as a government and as a country. We don't have enough to be keeping these subsidies going. And you have like 3 major subsidies. You have the PMS subsidy, you have the FX subsidy, you also have the electricity subsidy. That's the struggle you see the federal government through the Ministry of Finance and the CBN. That's the struggle they've been having. We can't carry the weight, hence we have to let it go.
So I have to ask you, you say, of course, it's the metrics are there, the indices are there, Nigeria is going through revenue crisis, but every political or presidential candidate during the last election cycle said that they would remove subsidy.
Yes.
And now they did, I mean, this present administration did remove subsidy, but now there's some more paying some sort of, subsidy. So it begs to ask the question, can we eradicate subsidy entirely? Can it happen?
Very good question, actually. We can. And it comes with implications. And it's those implications that Nigerians are afraid of. And I say this not because of government. If you cannot carry the weight of subsidies, meaning, remember, if we continue paying subsidies, government already is in debt. Therefore, it means we're borrowing to even exist, which is the reality of the facts. If you check what the CBN tells you, one of the major reasons why the Naira was fluctuating was because there's crude oil theft, meaning the government is not, we sell crude to make our FX. When you sell our Nigerian crude to foreign countries, it comes back as FX, dollars. That's the dollars that Nigerians use to take care of all its various requirements. Now, when it's being stolen, as you heard from the NSA, it means 400,000 less what we should normally get is not coming to us. Hence, that is the beginning of our problems. Secondly, when you buy dollar, you buy euro, you buy pound, in the last administration, there was heavy subsidization of FX, okay, which meant that it was being sold to you cheaper than the real cost.
Yeah.
Now, same thing with electricity. Why do the DISCOs, the GENCOs, and even the middleman called the Transmission Network of Nigeria, why are they always complaining that Nigerians are not paying market reflective costs? Hence, we cannot make the profit that we require to actually develop or build the industry. Now, the question is this. Nigerians are afraid that as a top producing nation, how are we going to survive with such high costs? As you can see, we've been dealing with high inflation for so long. But the point is, subsidies are not evil. They're good things. They're things that governments provide their people to make life better. But you see, subsidies are good, but abuse is worse. Abuse is more catastrophic. During the time of Occupy Nigeria, we were all here. And then Okonjo-Iweala, Sule Lamido, who was the then CBN governor, they spoke to us about removing the subsidies. Why? Because of the cesspit of corruption that was taking place in what otherwise should have been an advantage
now, has
to
this corruption
Nigerians.
changed over the years? I asked that question very deliberately because back in the 70s, and I think we have a video which I'm going to show you, of fuel queues, and first fuel queues in Nigeria, perhaps, if we could go back in time and see these. That's my father's old Beetle there, and he also had one of these too. Now, we've had these issues since the 70s.
Yes.
It's been there. What exactly has changed in the corruption that you speak of, or in the anatomy of corruption that you speak of, from the 70s
up to
now?
date? I will say this because I'm answering the question Judah told me. Can we remove it? The full history and truth about the oil and gas industry has not been told. It's one of the most corrupt industries in the world. It's not just Nigeria. There's a lot of politics and what I call it higi-haga, hogwash that takes place, horseplay that takes place in the oil and gas industry. Nevertheless, how can Nigeria get its balance? Nigeria created 4 refineries. I think the first refinery came in between almost right just after independence, right? We built about 4, right? Now, when those refineries started requiring maintenance, as any other machinery would, Obasanjo at that time introduced importation to augment the shortfall in Nigeria. So at a point in time, we were importing just to augment what the refineries were not able to produce. That was the beginning of that TAM, turnaround maintenance. We kept on hearing from administration to administration that the refineries need to be fixed, the refineries need to be fixed. The refineries became comatose, whilst the bill for fixing the refineries increased, and we never saw our refinery. Even till date, NNPC has shifted the outputs of the Port Harcourt refinery 6 times. Now, there's nothing more to be said. You asked a question, can subsidy be removed? It can. And I actually even, maybe whenever there's time, I can propose my thinking as regards taking out subsidy completely, especially from PMS. Why? Like I said, subsidies are good, but when they're abused. Now, because we haven't taken it out, the subsidy allows for rent seeking. Rent seeking has to do with corruption, meaning there's one reason why Nigerian petroleum products are smuggled. They're only smuggled because of incentive. If all our neighbors from Niger, Cameroon, Benin Republic, Ghana, Chad, they import fuel just like we do. They pay the real rates. Check the rates. You'll see if I carry my tanker of PMS to Cameroon, it sells about 600 ZOF, which is about CFA, which comes to about 1,500 or 2,000. So if you take 600 naira fuel and cross the border, you will sell it times 2 or even times 2.5.
The differences between those countries and our countries is we are an oil-rich
state. Good.
And we have 4 refineries.
Yes.
Plus a 650 barrel per refineries. And the NNPCL has now said that they would divest from the company and they would throw those channels into CNG.
Yes.
Is that the solution to our problems?
CNG just an additional output of the gas side. That doesn't even affect the PMS.
Is that the solution to our problem in terms of oil and revenue?
No, it will only introduce an alternative option to fueling your cars and to powering some of your businesses. However, to the question, joining them together, I believe that Nigeria should take out government from business, meaning if we're able to take the NNPC, meaning take government interference from subsidies, okay? Don't pay the subsidy and allow marketers, leave it to demand and supply, and imports for Nigerians pay the full price. I think we will end our days of petroleum scarcity. As you can see in diesel is never scarce. It would then become an issue of how much do I have to pay?
Yeah, would it be affordable? That's a big
now,
question.
the affordability leads us to the answer to how we can resolve it. How do Nigerians, instead of getting confused about oil, corruption, and politics, start holding their governments, both at the federal level and at the state level, about the increased earnings and revenue that they would get if we pay a higher price?
Can we, for refineries, one private, this message of divesting, is there going to be a day
that day will not come, and I say this with full authority and responsibility because we have not shown ourselves able to manage ourselves. We've abused it administration to administration. It's about time we take out the cancer from where it's at and actually deal with the problem squarely. Remember, we don't live in isolation. Every country around us imports fuel and pays the full price. If you go to Benin, just cross the border,
I'm aware.
you will see
very, very aware.
women, market women selling fuel. They don't have all these long conversations on TV.
Yeah.
They don't queue up for 3 hours.
Thank you very much for your very interesting insight on this matter. And of course, I believe that the government has heard your input there and they would like to bring you over and perhaps maybe you'll be giving them those ideas. Hopefully. We hope it solves the problem that we've been going through. Do stay tuned. Thank you very much, Devo Korie. We've got something very interesting for our guests. This time on Wellness Extra, it's something that many people are very concerned about. Uterine fibrosis, if I'm not saying the word wrong, but we'll tell you much about that.
That's how you know he's a man.
Yeah, fibroid, yes. We'll talk about that as soon as we get back for Wellness Extra. And welcome to Wellness Central, your go-to segment for all things health and wellness. Now, on today's edition, we're focusing on a condition that affects millions of women worldwide, uterine fibroids. Now, these non-cancerous growths in the uterus can cause a range of symptoms from heavy menstrual bleeding to pelvic pain, and they can significantly impact a woman's quality of life.
Tell me about it. Now, despite being common, there are still many misconceptions about uterine fibroids, what causes them, how they can be treated, and when they become a serious concern. And so to help us understand this condition better, we're joined by Dr. Modupe Adedeji. She's a highly respected consultant gynecologist who joins us live via video chat. Dr. Modupe Adedeji, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Well, I mean, let's start with, thank you. Let's start with the basics.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Let's start with the basics, and I would like to know what exactly are uterine fibroids and how common are they among women?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I'm very happy that you've decided to pick on this topic today. It's actually our disease because it's more or less from the African origin, and meaning that it's a black woman's disease, really. And we don't know why, but I think we should even actually thank God for that, because there are some other uterine conditions that are worse off that we may not be able to cope with in this part of the world. Because as you have they are benign growths. It's not cancerous, but a growth. It's just like the muzzle of the uterus getting angry, and it starts to multiply. So there are 3 layers on the uterus. We have the endometrium, the muzzle layer, and the covering that looks like some sort of a nylon that covers the uterus. We call it peritoneum. So on the part of the uterus, it's called serous. So, but the fibroid grows from the muzzle layer. So it just starts multiplying, but never a cancer. And the way it grows that in a way that is easy to shell off when we need to remove it. So it's just a problem of the uterus, basically the uterus. You don't find fibroid elsewhere, but in the uterus. So it's not cancerous, but it's something to discuss because of the issues that it brings to the women in their reproductive life.
So Dr. Diri, so you say it's not cancerous. Well, to some extent, we understand cancer, but fibroids, on the other hand, we have very limited understanding of exactly what causes them. So question is, what exactly causes fibroids?
It's actually very annoying because it's just like it's a reward of being a good woman. Most times we want to be the best before we start the journey of having our babies. So we want to achieve so many things, most especially as regards education. And then we tend to postpone our reproductive journey. What I mean is about getting pregnant and the likes. So we spend so much time in school, trying to be good enough for ourselves. But then the reproductive clock has started. As soon as we start menstruating, the first menstruation is called menarche. So as soon as it starts, it means that at any point in time, one can get pregnant. And that age of starting menses is around the age of, average around the age of 15, So 15, 16, 17, we are still waiting for you to get married. 19, 20, 25, obviously for the teenage age, it may be too early to do that because even the pelvis is still getting ready to carry pregnancy. But obviously, getting to the 20s, late 20s, 30s and all that, you are good to go. And still, pregnancy is not coming in. So the point is just that you cannot have a vacuum. If you have a vacuum for a while, something will start happening inside it. And that's the simplest of ways I can just bring understanding to the people listening to me. One of the things that happens is that the fibroid just starts growing. And it's actually been explained by the fact that there is estrogen being produced. And they feed on estrogen. And the essence of estrogen, which is a feminine hormone, and progesterone, is to assist in ensuring pregnancy, bringing about ovulation, getting pregnant, and then the progesterone takes over to keep up the pregnancy until it is time to deliver. So when this keeps going on, circle in, circle out, and no pregnancy, so the fibroid the muscle of the uterus just key on that, and then they just feed on the estrogen, and then it starts to multiply. And that's where we start talking about fibroid. So most times we have fibroid occurring in later reproductive age. To mention, reproductive age is actually between 15 and 49 years. So by the time we are getting to mid-30s, late 30s, 40s, early 40s, then no pregnancy, or if at all, maybe one child or two, then you know that you're supposed to do more, and you're not doing more, but then something else will grow, and that's where we have fibroid.
And so I have to ask about, the risks. I have to ask about the symptoms then. This scares me because I'm a woman who is...
Yes, I can see your face. You're
fine, Judith. It's okay.
I'm fine, though. But I do have to ask what the symptoms are. If you're someone who's just tuning in, who happens to be in the same, in this bracket, and they seem to be at risk of this, what are some signs, symptoms they should be looking out for?
Yes, let me make us happy a bit in that since the black woman's disease. So most times there is fibroid in the uterus and there is no symptom most of the time. But the ones we pay attention to are the problematic ones. And what are the problems they bring to bear? Majorly the symptoms they come with, the feeling they give, and also the other problems that they can carry along. So I have grouped it into three. So let me start with the symptoms they bring with when they become problematic. And majorly it is excessive bleeding and pain. So we call the bleeding menorrhagia. Menorrhagia is when a woman is having excessive menstrual flow. Normally you use maybe 2-3 pads in a day. And then you just notice now that you are changing pads repeatedly. It's filling up. You are getting to buy more perineal pads, over the period of your menses, or you are passing clots, that is solid blood, is coming out, dropping out, and all that. And the bleeding can be so much that other symptoms can come in, like getting tired, getting weak, feeling headache, having palpitation. Palpitation is feeling that your heart is beating. On a normal day, we shouldn't know that our heart is beating, and all that. And the most worrisome of that is even fainting episodes. So that means that the patient is bleeding a lot, So that's one symptom that you cannot hold back, because most times people hold back all of these symptoms and don't present to the hospital on time. But by the time it's getting to this point of, if people are wondering why you are white, clearly white, just because they've been bleeding, then they present. Another thing is terrible menstrual pain, which we call dysmenorrhea. The pain is crazy, in that it may even prevent you from going to work. Everybody just knows that you're on your menses, because probably you take off from work at this period, because of the terrible pain. It could even warrant admission in the hospital. After you have tried so many pain relieving drugs, and then it may not be working and all of that. So that are the common complaints. Then another thing is about the size. Most times there may be none of bleeding, none of pain, or they all come together, but the size of the fibroid. And then people are wondering if you are pregnant or you are not pregnant. And then if it's happening to someone who has even never been pregnant before, everybody will be expecting a delivery someday. And they'll be counting, the people, our village members, that may be counting months for you, non-delivered. So the thing is big, you're embarrassed, you find yourself wearing bigger clothes, trying to cover up. And beyond that, it can even come with its own symptoms, called pressure symptoms. There are other organs that surround the uterus, which can be affected. We have the bladder, we have the intestine, we even have the diaphragm, that's the undercover of the lungs. So when the fibroid is so big, it can cause irritation on the bladder that you notice that you are frequently urinating. And if it's that big too, it could cause an obstruction, and you find out that you cannot pass urine. That's urinary retention. Then another thing is that it can press on the intestine, and you find out that you are usually constipated. Your fecal matter hard. You find it difficult to get it out in the toilet. Excuse my word for that. And then you even find out that you find yourself eating just a little, even though you want to eat more. That's what we call easy satiety, meaning that you are easily satisfied. Then coming to the lungs, you find out that you can't take a distance. You start panting, or you cannot even climb up the stairs. You cannot breathe well and all that. These are the times that our own type of patients come to the hospital. And I'm emphasizing that. Doctor, and all of that. Then those are the basic group of problems that patient comes with symptoms.
All right, doctor.
The list of it is actually...
Doctor, I'm so sorry.
Let me just speak.
Yeah, if you can round up on that real quick, I'll let you.
Yes, the last of it is the fact that people get aware of it when they are being investigated for infertility. There may not be anything wrong at all. But by the fact that there are fibroids, and we find out those fibroids may be an issue, then we want to remove it so that I can improve fertility. Thank you. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. And then we have to talk about treatment then. We have seen situations where, because we're out of time, so we're pressed for time, and I need you to answer this, because a woman might be watching and see that she has the symptoms, and they might decide to go for alternative method, which is the traditional herbs. What is your take on this, and what is the best alternative or best treatment for dealing with fibro? Very quickly, we're out of time.
So I can see that you're in a hurry. So I like the angle that you're taking it from. Taking herbals, and the reason I've been emphasizing on late presentation. Taking alternative treatments, all because of the fear of surgery. You understand? All of these things make the surgery quite extensive. Most times, when you come in early, we'll pick you up and then we can give you follow-up. We can manage the symptoms only, and we only do surgery when it is necessary. You understand? So there are reasons why we do surgery. Reasons for surgery is when the symptoms are so bad and our medical management are not working. Medical management to stop the pain, to stop the bleeding. Then we have no option but to do a surgery for you, either myomectomy or hysterectomy. Myomectomy is done for women who are still wanting to get pregnant, while hysterectomy is done for women who have completed their family size. Another thing is that These surgeries are carefully done and well selected because it should not have a bearing on your getting pregnant in future. So basically, the treatment line will review you and then will know what will work for you at the time. Medical management or surgical management.
Dr.
And as I said
Diri.
earlier, when it's coincidentally picked up, you may not even need a surgery until probably we think that there's an indication for it.
Obviously, Doctor, there's so much that we can't contain inside of this little segment here, but we're very sure that we'll be bringing you back to give us more insight on that one because it's very important for many women across Nigeria to actually know about this and the world, of course. Thank you very much, Dr. Adediji. And now
thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
We're going to go straight into sports where Favor can't hold himself back. He's about to tell us all the good things that's been happening inside the world of sports. Favor, why are you so antsy, man? What's going on?
It's Paralympics, just
the Paralympics is yet to start. Just preparations from different countries. Some have started arriving in France, while some are just in neighboring countries around Europe, still trying to acclimatize, before moving into the city.
How much have we spent for the Paralympics? Are we going to have the same outcome like the Olympics?
If there's one thing I'm optimistic about is the Paralympians. I mean, they've always delivered whenever it comes to the Paralympics. They've won the most medals, especially from para-powerlifting. We also have para-athletics, para-table tennis. Just be rest assured that this time around we'll have a cause to smile.
Fingers crossed.
Exciting times. I cannot wait.
Let's do sports now. Thank you very much. Take it away.
All right, interesting time in the world of sport. I want to say a very big good morning to you from Nigeria. It's time to take you around the ever-exciting world of sport. We'll start from, of course, the world of football, where Nigeria's under-20 women's national team, the Falconets, defeated their Australian counterparts 2-1 in a friendly game played in Colombia on Friday. Now, after the victory, the Australian team officials requested that they engage with the Falconets on penalties. The 2010 and 2014 World Cup runners-up won the shootout 4-3. The 2024 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup will be hosted by Colombia from the 31st of August to the 22nd of September 2024. Nigeria is in Group D with Germany, Venezuela, and Korea Republic. All right, interesting one for Christopher Danjuma's side, preparing towards the World Cup, and we hope to see them take the world by storm. Away from there, let's now come back to the Nigerian Premier Football League, where Heartland Football Club have lost their former head coach, Christian Obi, in a fatal accident on Friday. Now, Obi lost his life in the accident that occurred in Okigwe and road to Abakaliki, the Benue State capital, where the Nazi Millionaires were to participate in the Ifeanyi Ekweme Tiko Select preseason tournament. Now, some players and other officials sustained injuries and have been taken to the hospital for treatment. Obi, who was age 57, coached the team in 2023-24 Nigeria Premier Football League season and was a Nigerian youth international goalkeeper who competed in the men's football tournament of the 1988 Summer Olympics in Seoul. Of course, that's in Asia. All right, we can only say that the family will be able to bear this great loss. I mean, it's very, very, very sad. This is a coach who was leading his team for a preseason tournament and met an unfortunate incident, and we can only say may his soul rest in peace. And still talking Nigerian football, 2023-24 Nigeria Premier Football League champions Enugu Rangers have progressed to the second preliminary round of the CAF Champions League. All right, the team, of course, saw the Zilimaju side of Comoros Island 2-1 on aggregate in a two-leg encounter decided at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium in Uyo. The game ended with a goal apiece when Kenechukwu Agu had converted from the spot to put the Flying Antelopes in front after Ekesin Okorie was brought down inside the Zilimaju box before the visitors pulled the equalizer. Rangers will now play in the second qualifying round of the CAF Champions League to qualify for a place in the group stage of the competition. All right, congratulations to Enugu Rangers, but there's still a lot of work to be done. They have another hurdle to climb, and after which they might be able to progress to the group stage of the competition. Let's bring you some story from the world of football in Europe, where, of course, Chelsea looking forward to of course, offload Romelu Lukaku, the Belgium striker, who might be leaving at the end of the season. The Belgium striker, who is 31 years of age, is expected to go all the way and, of course, try to finalize a deal to join Napoli's and, of course, Antonio Conte, who, of course, has coached him before in Inter Milan. It also remains possible that the transfer might be decided anytime soon. Interesting times ahead, as we know that, of course, Victor Osimhen in the opposite direction with Chelsea, preferring an initial loan deal for the Nigerian forward, but wait to see how much of this would happen, especially with Lukaku looking forward to move to the opposite direction, and Victor Osimhen might just be going in the other direction should this deal pull through. All right, we'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more sports for you.
Welcome back. It's the 10 o'clock hour. More breakfast headlines here on Breakfast Extra. My name is Mazima Peel. We begin with security matters, where we understand that the Benue State Police Command has announced the release of 20 medical and dental students from the University of Maiduguri and the University of Jos who were abducted in the Utukpo area on August 16. According to Catherine Anene, the police spokesperson, the students were rescued on Friday night. While the details of the operation will be disclosed later, it was confirmed that no ransom was paid. Let's also tell you that the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Ola Olukoyede, has emphasized that Nigerians are inherently good people, but the nation's system fosters an environment where fraud can thrive. He highlighted the importance of transparency and accountability among public office holders to combat corruption and restore integrity in the country's institutions. Olukoyede made these remarks during a courtesy visit by the management team of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, led by its managing director, Dr. Samuel Obuku, to the EFCC headquarters in Abuja. In politics, the People's Democratic Party Governors Forum has held its monthly meeting in Jalingo, Taraba State, to discuss strategies for addressing the nation's economic challenges and issues affecting the party. The meeting, which comes barely a month after a similar meeting in Enugu, addresses critical issues affecting both the country and the party, with a particular focus on the ongoing political crisis within the Rivers State chapter.
Number 5, the forum knows the political impasse in Rivers State, where court judgments are employed to determine the outcome of party congresses. The PDP Governors Forum restates its stand and firm support to the governor of Rivers State and will engage the NWC of the Great Party to revisit the Congress with a view to correcting the anomaly and allowing His Excellency Governor Similaye Hubra to take his rightful leadership position of the party in the state. Number 6, with regard to the forthcoming governorship election in Edo State, we condemn the pronouncement.
Judicial matters. The Supreme Court has dismissed the appeal filed by the People's Democratic Party and its governorship candidate, that's Samuel Anyawu, in Imo State governorship elections. The PDP had challenged the decision of the Court of Appeal, which affirmed the election of Hope Uzodinma as the governor of the state. However, in delivering its final judgments, the Apex Court held that the appeal lacked merit and affirmed the decision of the Court of Appeal.
My reaction to the judgment is that the Supreme Court delivered the judgment and held that the appeal lacks merit and is dismissed.
27 local governments were won in a manner that the elections have not been won in Imo State before, because of the effort the governor put into administration, where Imolites are happy with what he did, and they turned out en masse to vote for him. A lot of people did not understand the volume of what Imo people did in that election. But it spoke for us, it spoke for Imo, it spoke for the governor. It showed that a man who came into governance, and a lot of people were skeptics, were talking a lot of things. At the end of the day, the Imo people came out and gave him that mandate that was.
Now let's tell you that the governor of Kogi State has commended the judiciary for standing on the path of truth and justice despite intimidation in the rundown to delivering judgment on the state election poll dispute. This was as he was received by a mammoth crowd following his victory at the Apex Court in Abuja.
Feel elated not just about our victory, but about how the judiciary head onto the point of law and ensure justice in this matter. You see, judiciary remains the last hope of a common man like myself. They were threatened, they were called names, all sorts of things, they were intimidated, but they have head onto the point of law by not allowing that to make them call what is black white and vice versa.
And that's all the headline news here on Breakfast Extra for the 10 o'clock hour. Do stay tuned. We've got more inside of Breakfast Extra. Stay tuned.
And you're welcome back. It's time for our final big story for today as we turn our focus to the aviation sector, which is currently facing a turbulent period. Now, the ongoing economic crisis in Nigeria has taken a toll on domestic airlines, leading to a significant drop in passenger traffic. Now, recent data from the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority shows a 13% decline in domestic air travel between 2022 and 2023, with the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria reporting a 23% drop in passenger traffic at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport.
Now, this decline has been linked to rising airfares, poor living standards, and a dearth of disposable income, making it increasingly difficult for the average Nigerian to afford air travel. To discuss the impact of these economic challenges on the aviation industry and what this means for both airlines and passengers, we have with us today an expert in the field, Mazi Nnamdi, airspace infrastructure specialist and aviation consultant. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you
Good to have you here, sir.
Thank you very much.
My first question is going to be very, very ordinary. When was the last time you traveled within Nigeria using, well, that's, you definitely did that recently.
On Tuesday, out of Abuja to Lagos.
May I ask how much you paid?
189,000 naira.
189. Let's just say round it off to 200,000. Uber there, Uber back.
Because I bought it maybe a week before time.
And a week in advance.
Yeah.
What was the price? What was the fare, say, a year ago?
A year ago, max 110, 115.
A year and a half ago, I paid 63,000 naira for a return ticket.
Yeah.
Don't ask me. I haven't left the shores of this state.
No, but in the last year, yeah. But can you imagine that disparity just a year and a half until now?
Oh, you know, using I'll give you a bucket of Gary. Yeah, I'm using air ticket. Look at this elites. Please, I used to use
don't go too far.
Yeah.
Gary is usually the rock bottom staple food in Nigeria.
Very true.
Check the price.
Yeah.
But what's the gravity of this situation we're looking at now, sir?
The gravity is the same impact. Try buying this your tie. Try buying this suit. Try buying anything else. So aviation is not exclusive. They're not excluded from the impact. Usually, a strategy in government would have been to how do we save this trend? During COVID, most governments outside the shores of this country invested in the airlines to survive. And usually, when there is an economic major downturn, there are three basic things. Number one, food. Number two, health. And what does these two ride on? Logistics. What's the logistics? Air transportation, road transportation, rail. So without logistics, you can't move food, you can't move medicine. And during COVID, it played out obviously that even when there is total ban on movement, if you have 10 loaves of bread in your car, they will allow you go. But even our local police understood that people need to eat. And even when there was no air transportation, cargo flights were coming.
I must ask, before this 1 year that we've seen this very huge decline in our economic situation in Nigeria, then the domestic aviation sector had been facing a myriad of challenges. Do you think it also contributed to what we're seeing currently in present day?
Definitely, of course. I mean, domestic carriers, because they're all privately run business, they just groan and keep complaining and keep, I mean, I've spent This is my 44th year in the industry. And we have passion. Because back in the days, government gave us scholarship, trained us, sent us abroad, prepared us to grow the industry. Because aviation is a major vehicle to grow the economy. Unfortunately, when things like this happen, nobody tends to see the chain of a problem. Because it's a chain of problem that you must solve link by link. We can't be exempted from the impact of what is happening. And that's why you see, you go to the airport, very few people travel.
Yeah.
And most of those travels are no longer leisure, they're business, which means corporate funds is paying.
So, sir, how will the industry survive if nobody is using the airspace anymore? If that means the businesses don't have customers, they still need to run the business, run
Correct.
generators, run the aircrafts, maintain them.
One
How
of
do they
my
survive?
excitements for discussing this is nobody thinks the way we are thinking. Without the airlines, there is no NAMA, there's no FAN, there's no AC. What are you regulating? What are you going to regulate? So we must make these airlines to survive. Either way. I mean, as consultant, I need to be paid to say what needs to be done. But the truth is...
Nation building now.
No, for nation building, well, I have to build myself first. The truth is, and I say it, government must look inward now. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, rather. Now.
What do they need to do exactly?
Begin to talk to the airlines what they need. And the airlines need different things. How many airlines go to Akure? How many airlines go to Ibadan? How many airlines go to Mina? We need to begin to look at airlines that will go to those places. Thank God, a few government initiatives which have not been sustained have been looking in those areas where airlines are encouraged to go to lower airports where they can pay little. However, critical to it is finding ways and means to have aviation fuel available. Now, if the very tail end of the need of energy, PMS, we're still speaking this English, and it's unfortunate. I've once said on TV, government should just engage the Nigerian Society of Engineers and all the petroleum engineers, lock all of us in a room for a few days. We'll find a solution. I mean, a private enterprise has just developed a refinery. And we're speaking long English to give him raw material that is within. That explains it to you.
Mazi, the aviation, you just talked about aviation fuel, and I think if I'm going to track this back to 2 years ago, we saw a steady increase of the price of the fuel of the aviation fuel, which was impeding on the price tickets that we've seen. And 1 year into the administration, Festus Keyamo is the current aviation minister. Herculean tasks, everyone said, all the critics, every analyst, every expert, consultant. So far, so good. 1 year. Has he done significantly well? Has he done?
Well, it would be unfair to evaluate my brother on television, but he needs to talk to us. He needs help. He needs to call robust men. There are many of us. There are all of us. Waiting, relax, having coffee. Dr. Demoran, Bernard Elika, myself. There are many of us.
He needs help in what areas? In what areas?
Tell me what to do. Advise me. Today, one of the most robust documents we've used to grow the industry is the Paul Dicke document, where a minister chose to call all of them, took them to Ascom Badagry, and they developed this document under President Obasanjo. And there is no way a minister can sit in his office and dish out directives. That's why when we started Nigerian Air, I said, good idea, they brought one of the best brains, Dr. Lumide, to run it. Today, government has gone and used the court to say all that effort is cancelled. Now, any nation that does not respect legal instruments, contractual agreements, cannot prosper. Prosperity is based on the law. That's why Procurement Act is a law. by National Assembly.
So he needs to call the big
He
brains.
needs to speak to people.
So
I'm
does
not
that
talking
mean-
about
does that
go
mean
and
that
have
he's-
retreat in
Yes.
Warri or Maiduguri with 10 people.
Mazudo, does that mean that he perhaps maybe lacks the pedigree or?
No. You know, like I said, it would be unfair for me to evaluate him, but I just said he needs to call people.
Okay.
And those people are available. They're very, and they're willing. They might sound like critics. Yes, take the criticism. Take it. Did they not start to criticize this government? And Mr. President said, give them got a fuel.
Given the harsh economic climate,
Yeah.
given the decline in passengers and ticket sales, what is the future for the Nigerian aviation sector?
Bleak future. Wow. We need to do something now. We need to do something. There is, look, anywhere you go, government will always look into aviation. You see all these KLM, Air France, name them. Government do not, yes, it's privately run, well run, Emirate. Go to Dubai. Half of the people running Emirate are not citizens of UAE. They're not Americans, British people. Nigerians fly there because their government is always putting an eye. How did Dubai grow? Government support.
Real quick, sir.
Yes,
44 years in the industry. You are one of the big men you spoke about that Keyamo could call and consult from.
Yeah.
What measure would you advise that could be implemented currently that will drop the price of airfare in Nigeria?
Fuel, do some hedging. Government can invest in, get the airlines together. Use a warehouse. Invest through the banks. Bring in this aviation fuel, pending when the refineries are fixed to have a line for aviation fuel. And the ultimate long-term solution, we need to produce our fuel in Nigeria.
As in the future of these refineries is bleak.
No. Look, if I say to government, challenge me, give me 3 months, I hand over one refinery to me. I have some engineering ideas of what goes on there, production technology, what goes on in the refinery. I will bring experts that will work and report to me. It's not record science. And we know those men. They are very intelligent. Did you not listen to the MD of NNPC saying he doesn't want to say anything, but I will speak now? Say it now, what needs to be done?
Say it now. Mazinando, thank you very much for
thank you so much for
giving
doing
us
this
your
with us.
very intelligent and industry-forward insight on
News
this
Central, thank you for stepping up this conversation. Don't stop here. Take it to the next level.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you very
It's
much.
very clear that the challenges facing Nigeria's aviation sector industry is the road so far is tough, but understanding the factors at play can help us for the future when it comes to our domestic tourism and aviation sector. Our guest today has been Mazi Nnamdi Udo. He's an aviation consultant, and that brings us to the very end of this segment. Stick around, there's plenty more on the other side, and we'll be serving you bread instead of our extra special.
If we can afford it, I don't know if we
I
can
don't
afford
have
it
bread, Joe.
But let's see if we can. Stay tuned. For our extra special, and we're serving bread, like Judith said. Recently, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, raised alarm over the safety of bread sold in our markets. Alarming. According to NAFDAC, many of the bread products are failing laboratory tests due to the use of saccharine, a cheaper and potentially harmful substitute for sugar.
Now, this revelation is not only concerning for consumers, but also raises questions about the practices within the food-making, bread-making industry, I beg your pardon, especially given the current economic challenges. And so, to help us understand this, we are joined by Onora Emmanuel. He's the president of the Premium Bread Makers Association of Nigeria, to shed light on these concerns and what the industry is doing to ensure the safety of bread sold in Nigeria. Mr. Onora Emmanuel, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You came with a T-shirt, P-Ban.
Yeah, P-Ban.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah, that's it, P-Ban.
I promised we're going to serve bread.
Premium Bread Makers Association of Nigeria.
That's good.
You didn't come with the bread. You didn't come with the bread.
The prices are soaring. People are, embracing sharp practices. We just learned that there was this talk about what did they call it now? Dangerous bread. Something about bread not even going bad when you store it. And then this one where ingredients like sugar is being substituted for saccharin. What's the gravity of the situation currently regarding this?
Thank you once more for having me. You know, when I saw this report, was it about 2 weeks ago? Yeah, we were taken aback, but it wasn't NAFDAC National, it wasn't Professor Adeyeye, it was the Ibadan office that actually came up with this, meaning that whatever they're trying to say that is localized is not a national thing. Yeah, it was Ibadan that came up, the LSO in Ibadan also, that came up with this report. It wasn't the NAFDAC National. But that's not trying to hold brief for anybody. The truth is, bread making is intricate, yes. Bread making materials are soaring, but I speak for PBAN. I don't talk for others. I talk for my members because we have our do's and don'ts in PBAN. We have our core values that we all adhere to strictly. We have our constitution that binds us as PBAN members. You know, for you to be a PBAN member, mark that word, PBAN, Premium Bread Makers Association of Nigeria. What does it tell you? It tells you that we are premium. Most of us that are PBAN members are people that have worked and done well in their spheres of endeavor before they dovetailed into making bread. For instance, I'm a petroleum engineer. I worked in oil and gas for 24 years. In PBAN, we have more than 5,000 in-class experience of people that have excelled in their places of, their choices of endeavor, and they came into bread making, running company, running businesses, you know, with good amount of personnel, with good amount of quality personnel that will help you run your businesses the right way. So we are zero tolerance to the use of harmful addictive.
Mr. Honora, I have to ask, one of the reasons cited for this production that we're seeing and this substantial production of bread that we're seeing is the rising cost of sugar, one of the key ingredients. And so I have to ask, can you give us a sense of, you know, what bread makers and manufacturers of bread are facing in terms of the high cost of food that is now into production?
Well, I will always say this, Mazino, I will always speak for PBAN, and I will keep saying PBAN, because that's the much I know. I have a constitution that binds me. Look, in PBAN, we tell our members, please, as our ground norm, before you become a member of PBAN, 1, you must be NAFDAC certified. 2, you must have an address. 3, you must use the right components of equipment that is environment friendly, and you must endeavor to use the right ingredients. We frown at the use of unwholesome materials to make bread. So having said that, let us now come into bread making, and that is why in PBAN, rather than cut corners, rather than be involved in any shenanigan, what do we do in PBAN? We adjust our prices and maintain our quality, because we know that what people are eating tells who they are. What you ingest goes into you and does a lot of harm to you. Of course, we cannot run away from the fact that there are so many cases of renal failure today in Nigeria, people having all sorts of diseases. Today, if it's not this, tomorrow is mpox or whatever you call them.
Do the members of PBAN face challenges, economic challenges when it comes to production? What are some other ingredients that you are paying higher than you normally would a year ago besides sugar?
Everything has spiked. At the beginning of this year, in the last 3 weeks, let me just tell you, flour added about 7,000 naira. Flour added about 7,000 naira. Margarine, the one we use, 15 kg, maybe different brands, that was going for about 25,000. In less than a month, it added 10,000. It's going for about 36,500. D2 for yeast. Yeast that was going for about a month ago was going for about 50,000. It's now going for 62,000 naira. Milk, the same thing. Of course, egg. Egg has been just a bit stable, hovering between 4,800 to 5,000. A crate. Then you talk of the ascorbic acid or the softeners. The softeners are those things that make the bread very soft and luscious for when you want to consume them. So that one was about, at the beginning of last month, it was about 1.3 million. It's spiked to 2.6 million. So in all of these things, you know, all our costs, all our ingredients are spiking simultaneously.
What about the main ingredient, which is flour, which is imported, and then the government's new policy that helps with the import duties, negating that you have to pay these import duties if you're bringing in these products?
Well,
has that helped in any way? Or will it help?
No, it will help in the long run. Maybe in the next 1 month or 2 months, let us see how it pans out with the millers, because the millers too, they have their own challenges. I keep saying it. They have their own challenges. They produce these materials for us to use to make bread, okay? They have their own challenges. So the only thing we are saying is, as millers, you know, you don't gouge your price, because there are, I think, about three big millers that are currently servicing the entire country, meaning that there's maybe the possibility of a duopoly or a monopoly, as the case may be.
Wait, 3 millers serving 36 major.
3 majorly.
And when we say major, how many machines are we looking at?
They are quite big. They service the whole country.
You say big. Give me a picture.
I mean, I'm not in that industry, but I know they service the country.
Have you visited any of them?
Yes, I've done.
How big is it?
They are very big. They are at Papa Tinkan. They are at Papa Wharf. They are massive. They are very, very big.
I'll tell you something. I worked there as a youth.
They are big.
So I can tell they're huge.
They're huge.
Compound.
The facilities are huge. There is, I think they have some of them are located in Warri at the port, and the same thing in Port Harcourt. But it's still basically the same 3-4 companies that are doing this whole thing. So having said that, yes, let us see what the next 1-2 months tells us, because the government has said, okay, we are freezing import duties for now, and then the VAT, we are suspending for the next 150 days, is it not? 150 days are to the end 31st of December. But we are still advocating that it shouldn't end there. They should still push it forward to maybe 2 years, so that we can have the effect of this thing crystallized in bread making.
Right. Okay. So now, regarding the quality that we're talking about, and all this that you've put forward, what has been the reaction from NAFDAC regarding this so far?
Well, like, NAFDAC is our major regulator. Okay, they are a major regulator. Of course, we have, from time to time, they call out the association to various workshops, to various workshops. And what do we do in those workshops? They tell us the do's and don'ts of bread making and all of it. So, but in class, in PBAN, we ensure that we have a compliant and provost officer that goes around our bakeries from time to time to check what they are doing, check their dry stores, to check the kind of materials they are using. Let me tell you, there are 2 kinds of nutritive values, nutritive sugars. There's the nutritive, there's the sugar that is nutritive, and then there is the non-nutritive type. The nutritive sugar, which is sugar, gives calories, energy. Those ones are basically the main sugar that we use in bread making. Then there is the non-nutritive type, okay, which we call the sweeteners. Bread making needs this for it to be very sweet. People like bread to be sweet, okay? Now, in the non-nutritive sweeteners, you have saccharin there, you have aspartame, you have acesulfame K, ACK, we call it ACK.
And this is what unscrupulous bread makers use.
No, they don't. For instance, in Nigeria, like in PBAN, I tell you, there's what we call the Codex. That is, the Codex is the Food and Agriculture Organization / World Bank procedure for use of additives in bread making and food generally. Okay? There is nothing bad in the use of the sweeteners to do bread. Not saccharin, because Nigeria frowns at use of saccharin, but the ACK, the acesulfame K sweetener can be used to make bread. And how do you use that in making bread? You use 1,000 milligram of faith per kg of wheat flour.
I appreciate the detail you're trying to give us now, but I really must ask before we end this show now. You always make sure that you are specific regarding your association. However, NAFDAC did tell that there's something going on, and you specified that this was in Ibadan. Now, which other associations might be that perhaps maybe are culpable when it comes to the NAFDAC alert?
I wouldn't know, because there are people, so many bread makers are not in the association.
What's been the PBAN's response to that NAFDAC alert as well?
No, the alert on, we frowned at it, and we protested, and we issued a press release that PBAN is not part of those people that use saccharin to do bread.
Your members for PBAN, is it just only in Lagos?
No, we are across Nigeria.
Across Nigeria. How many members do you have?
We used to be about 170 bakeries, but because of the downturn in the economy, the mortality has hit us by more than, we have shared with by more than 60%.
Wow.
Yeah, and it goes with job losses. Okay, wow. So in PBAN, we don't use saccharin to do bread. But yes, sweeteners are allowed in making bread. The sweeteners that are allowed in making bread is that type that does not react with heat when you put them in the oven, that does not cause problem for people, like the one I just enunciated here, ACK, the raw sugar, you add them together. And let me say this, for those people that are even using saccharin, it's not good. You know why it's not good? One, it distorts the structure of your bread. It affects your bulk weight. In making bread, there's what we call the bulk weight. Let me give you a synopsis of it. You do 50 kg, if you want to bulk your entire dough weight, you do 50 kg of the wheat, maybe a 10 kg of sugar, you add your margarine, your fat, you do about maybe 1.5 kg, then you add all of these things up into your bowl, mix it, it gives you your dough weight. When you are cutting your dough to size, okay, because the volume is big, it gives you better volume, it gives you better yield, it gives you better quality. Like I told you about the sweeteners uses very minute quantity, meaning that in the use of sugar, instead of doing 10 kg of sugar, you are replacing with about 5 grams. You can see that volume of sugar compared to the 5 grams will affect your bulk weight ultimately, and affect your yield, and affect the structure of your bread, affect the crust of your bread, affect everything about your bread. You understand? So for us in PBAN, we say zero tolerance to the use of saccharin, zero tolerance to the use of unwholesome materials. We use the right type of materials.
Besides the waiving of the import duty on food, and as well as besides that measure that the government has introduced, what are the measures you think the government or policies the government needs to introduce to aid food manufacturing companies, especially bread makers?
Well, what they need to do are numerous and multifaceted in nature. If I may suggest, backward integration is one. Backward integration is one. Let us ensure that we grow wheat in the country. Let us ensure that this, the yeast and other materials that we are using, because basically they do most of them 100% import into the country. Ensure that we domicile them in country. Have the factories that are manufacturing it, so that you can drive down the cost of the ingredients, and with that you can, with that the prices of bread will at least come down, and then you can be able to create a job for Nigerians in those industries that are set up here. So that is just it. Backward integration, ensure that these things are manufactured in country, and ensure that we aggressively grow wheat in the country, and even the sugarcane, and to ensure that we have a lot of these things that we use in making bread domiciled in country.
When I saw that news about the saccharin, it was very interesting to see that we're back to the early 2000s, where we are back to day one of us fighting against this use of harmful ingredients in food. And so I have to ask you, for members that are not part of, or bread makers that are not part of PBAN, what message would you give to them, as well as bread consumers in Nigeria who might be concerned about the safety of the bread that they are purchasing? What should they be looking out for? And also to bread makers, advice to them in cutting corners. Summarily, please.
Let me say this. I will always talk for PBAN. We don't do that, and we frown at it. If anybody is involved in that kind of nefarious activities, it is not good. Don't use saccharin, don't use unwholesome material to make your bread. Rather than do that, use the right type of materials. Spike your price a bit so that you maintain your quality. You understand me? And to be very honest, that kind of sweeping statement that was made by the NAFDAC LSO is not good for the industry. It tends to want to demarcate what we are doing as people that are toiling for the country. We feed the nation, but somebody cannot just come out and become very rascally with words and say they are using saccharin. What are the indices the persons use, or the NAFDAC official use? If he just goes to Ibadan, pick up a few bread, you are using it now to tar the entire bread makers. It was done in bad taste. And after the NAFDAC official made that pronouncement, they started making different kind of skits. You can see different kind of podcasts coming out telling Nigerians not to buy bread, that bread is harmful. I saw one yesterday and I was, wow, taken aback. What does this mean? Are they saying that we shouldn't produce bread again because of the nefarious activities of a few Nigerians? No.
So what should consumers look out for when they're buying bread off the shelf? What are some of the signs that you know that, this thing
this is dangerous for me?
This is not.
If you buy your bread, the first thing, if you buy your bread, look out for first the labeling of that bread. Look out for first whether there is a phone number on the bread bag, whether it's whether it has a company name. Then after looking at that, when you open the bread, you eat the bread. If the bread has harmful addictive, there's what we call aftertaste. And how do you know a bread that has aftertaste? If you eat it, the sweet is terminal. The sweet doesn't when you eat sweet like sugar, it comes and you just eat it, it's sweet and it's just there.
That's it.
Yeah, but if it is laden with saccharin or any bad
doesn't
material,
linger.
Yeah, if it lingers.
It lingers on the tongue.
Yeah, it lingers in the tongue. And outside lingering, it gives you an aftertaste that is sore in your mouth.
I
And
would
the
have
mouth will
thought that
bitter.
that was the good one. Actually.
No, that's not the
Thanks
good
for
one.
that
No,
information.
no. You give you that aftertaste. As soon as you eat it, it lingers, and then you get that taste that is sour and bitter.
I don't like that.
Mr. Nora, I want to say thank you especially for that piece of information, and thank you for bringing your insights
very much, Master.
Thank you
into
so much.
this
Thank
matter
you very
here,
much.
and we appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Indeed, yes.
Well, we served you bread.
We did indeed
we
serve you bread, actually.
Well, food safety is something that affects all of us, and it's reassuring to hear about the steps that's being taken to address these concerns, and also ask consumers what to look out for when you're buying bread off the shelf for Sunday breakfast tomorrow morning. Well, stick around. This time, we're bringing you perspectives as we go onto the street of Lagos and to ask Nigerians to share their experiences and how long they've been on the queues. Stay with us.
Good morning, Judith. It's a beautiful morning again here in Lesotho. A bit windy this morning, but yesterday it was quite a chilly day, but windy today. I'm just outside Maseru town, but still within Maseru, that is the capital city of Lesotho. As you can see behind me, the Basotho just going around with their businesses. But one thing, when I was talking to other Basotho here, that the unemployment rate here in this country is a bit high. Most of the youths are unemployed. So I went around just speaking to business people in other Basotho just to understand what are the factors that are causing the unemployment rate in this country. But this is not a new thing, because also back in South Africa, we know that the unemployment rate is also high. So this is not a new thing. But also Basotho are also facing similar challenges that most African countries face. But let me bring in Tebo, who is also a citizen of Lesotho, just to speak about the unemployment rate and what the youth of this country are facing. Good morning, and thank you for joining us here at News Central. What are the challenges that the youths here are facing? We know that the unemployment rate is so high. What factors are causing the unemployment rate?
Thank you for the opportunity. One of the reasons that causes the unemployment rate is that in Lesotho we have a challenge whereby we have a smaller private sector that is not able to absorb as many youth, as many people as possible. So the unemployment is also again caused by Lesotho. You will remember after 2012, after the coalition governments, it has experienced some political turbulences, political instability, and those things did not really augur well for the investment prospects of Lesotho. So those are some of the reasons that we still have high unemployment rate.
During our discussion, you also told me that most of the companies are leaving Lesotho because of one or two reasons. What are some of the reasons why you find that business people are leaving Lesotho?
Actually, it's the factories that are closing. And now we have about 42 factories that are still active. And of those, I think only 6 are Basotho owned. Others are. So there was a report that unearthed sexual harassment and database violence in those factories. So some of the the market to sell their orders. So they do not want to stop this to be helping or be in trading with the people who are compromising standards and doing unethical things.
Yes, Judith, we have it there. The challenges that the youth of Lesotho are facing, not only the youths, but the citizens. But let me just take it to the business people and just ask them, what are some of the challenges that they are facing as business? Let me just try to speak to one businessman here. Let's hope he will speak to us, and so that we understand how businesses in Lesotho are affected. Good morning, sir, and thank you for joining us here. You have a business, a small business here. How is business in Lesotho faring?
Business it's a bit slow, but we are coping. We are coping, but it's a very slow. Yes.
So, as a businessman, what are the challenges that you are facing?
The challenges are most of people are unemployed, so the buying power is very low. So we are making a little revenue, small revenue, yes.
Okay, that was one of the business people here in Lesotho, just telling us some of the business challenges that are facing. And also they are saying because of COVID, they have not recovered. But here in Lesotho, people are enjoying their lives. Other than businesses and the life that they are facing, Lesotho is a beautiful country. It's back to you in the studio, Judith.
All right. Well, I want to say thank you so much, Bongani. We'll definitely come back to you for more update there. But well done, and our heart goes out to the people of Lesotho. And it seems like the economic challenges that we're seeing here, it's not just a Lesotho crisis. It's pretty much a situation that is global. But once again, many thanks, Bongani.
Thank you, Bongani. And now I believe it's time for you to bring us that little one on perspectives.
Yes, it
We're very excited about it from before.
I am.
I don't know why we're excited about fuel scarcity.
I don't know. Can you imagine? But hey, perspective is where we bring you the voice of the people on the issues that shape our nation and impact our daily lives. And today we're tackling a topic that has been a source of frustration for millions of Nigerians, and that's fuel scarcity. There's been long queues at stations, like Mazino was there earlier on. There's also been skyrocketing prices and the resulting ripple effects of that on our transportation and businesses. It has become an all too familiar scenario.
And for many, it's not just about waiting in line. It's about the stress, loss of time, and the financial strain. You know what? Let's just take an example, or rather take a sample of a small group of Nigerians. However, this will be our little goodbye, while we'll give you what Nigerians are telling about the scarcity out there. So after this, it will be goodbye from us, and we'll catch you tomorrow for a Sunday edition on Breakfast Extra.
Goodbye.
It's quite affecting because we cannot get the thing to buy on time. And where we get it, they sell it to us at a very high cost price.
It's not easy to buy at all. It's not easy to buy for that amount. How much would they carry passenger to 200 passenger? And would they buy fuel for that cost price, for that kind of amount? It's too cost. It's not getting better. Do you understand? We have always been having this fuel issue. And I don't know why from years to years we still keep having it.
You see how we are queuing. I've been here now for the past 30 minutes. I'm not sure in the next 30 minutes whether I will get it.
It's frustrating. Because sometimes you have money, but you won't see fuel to buy. That's one. And sometimes, also, maybe like as I am now, I have small fuel. Being on the queue is something else. Because you will be thinking of how will I do? Maybe before I get to the fleet station pump, the one you have in the car, you are exhausted.
And the fuel is too cost for that amount. It's too cost. 618. Some even they sell them for 818. 880, 890. That's what we buy them. 880, 890.
The friends in Afghanistan also very well. Every day now, queue. The friends still well. I don't sell gallon for Mobi, only motor. If I don't work for money, then I can't queue for fuel again.
I think it was better during Obasanjo regime. I think it was better during Ajaero.
I think we started having more of this, like heavily, during Jonathan. After he came from 65 to, he was saying he wanted to remove subsidy and all that.
You can't use the previous ones to compare with this. Before, I used to buy for like 180, but now it's like 580 or even more.
The past government has been better than the present one. Because even during Jonathan time, I can remember, when they discussed that, we cry and they come to our aid, they answer us, they tell us what, they take action. Now, for the past, it's going to 1 month now, no action is being taken. So we have been, the government has failed us.
The past, even better. This one is not good at all. Things is very bad. The sufferness is too much. Before we see for a buy, the sufferness is too much. It's not good. It's not easy. It's not easy.
I never feel the government where they come before. Allow like this. This one they allow you to invest us every day.
I'm not the owner of this machine, so I'm doing daily pay. I used to pay every day. So I will use half day to suffer for fuel, and I must pay the deliver completely. So I'm tired. It's not easy.
The simple fact is that the government has not been forthcoming in telling us the truth. They have always lying to us because we don't know the cost of the scarcity. We have crude oil. We have refineries. They promise they are going to repair it. Even to repair one out of the 4. They purported we have four refineries. None is working. They keep on promising us, and they have failed. Every time they made the promise, they have not been able to fulfill the promise.